Well, folks, welcome back to Colour in Your Life. Well, I'd like to introduce a good friend and an amazing artist, a gentleman that we filmed a number of years back, Mr. Mark Waller. How are you, mate?
I'm very well, thanks, Graeme. Very well.
That's great. So when did we actually film you? What year was it?
I think it was 2014, I think.
Yeah. So
not great with dates.
Yeah, me too. But there's a lot, there's a lot of things that have happened to you, and I'll get straight to the point. When was it that you had your tumour?
Well, I actually think it was probably growing when we did our show, believe it or not. Yeah. So I collapsed in 2016, I think it was. Yeah.
So tell me a bit about it. They took out an apple-sized tumour out of your head or something?
A peach size. I don't know how much, I know what the difference is between
peach and apple.
Yeah. I'm not splitting hairs,
Yeah.
But yeah, peach-sized tumour, which is probably why this interview will probably go horrifically wrong at some point. So,
well, we're doing it on ad lib anyway. So
it's my get out of jail free card.
Yeah, all the time. Well, I've got a nervous disorder too, so
yeah, there we are.
we can go ahead. But
what could go wrong?
Yeah, literally. But you and I have got a history going back, 2 decades basically. When,
actually,
we went to New York.
I'll tell you something about that in a minute. Yeah, but anyway, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, well, we went to New York and did the Ripple Effect project.
Yeah.
There, and it was an amazing event when you look back at it. It had its ups and downs, but what
we
did was pretty incredible. It really was.
Well, I can tell you, when you sit in the chemo ward and you look at your life and stuff, you get an opportunity to go, was that a waste of time? Was that a waste of time? Was that a waste of time? I can guarantee that one was definitely not a waste of time.
Yeah, no, I don't think evidence, but you also had a documentary put together on you over the last 20 years as well by Jim.
Yeah. Well, and that was sort of what I was going to mention about, because you're in there, you're woven through that as well, and the whole ripple effect thing's woven through that. But it was funny. I was saying to Jim the other day. I said if I hadn't had a brain tumor, that would have been as boring as hell.
Because you really didn't know until for 2 years, really, did you?
No, I didn't. I didn't know until 2016. But I looking back, there was a whole pile of behaviour that I was, that probably should have given me a sign, but started to behave quite erratically, and then eventually had my exhibition in Perth and collapsed, and that was sort of when I first had an inkling of it. Although apparently a couple of days before the surgery, I said to someone, "I swear I've got a brain tumour."
It's a dead giveaway.
Yeah.
So between now and then, how has your work changed because of the brain tumour? And then I think you'd have to have a different reflection on life at the moment, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Look, obviously, yeah, that's a tough one to answer, Graeme, because it's such a big thing. But as far as work's concerned, I think it's changed my work a lot. There's probably been this, how do I say this? The whole experience for me was probably the greatest expansion I can possibly imagine. And because of that, I went from being a human being paying a mortgage and doing all of that sort of stuff to being a conscious being on a lump of dirt in the depths of space, pretty much. So the paintings had to change, and so there was a lot of starscapes and a lot more space in the paintings now, because I think that's been one of the gifts of facing the end of your life, is you realize that outside of your life there's a lot of space. But what we tend to do is focus on the bit inside our life, and we end up being incredibly busy, and we miss out on so much magic in the world, and so much of the magic of being alive.
Yeah. So
for me, I think that whole experience was a way of kind of clearing the decks so that I could actually see the world truthfully again, for want of a better term.
Did you see that reflected in the documentary at all, from sort of start to finish over that 20-year period? Can you see your attitude changing in the documentary?
Yes, I can. Certain things, yes. There were certain things that were still me. I've always had a fairly strong ethic about looking after the planet and about living reasonably sustainably and about being fulfilled simply. That's not changed, but probably my fighting against the world has greatly diminished for that, since the thing, I don't know. It's definitely changed in that I've definitely changed. I personally think I'm a lot quieter, but it turns out I've recently discovered that I may have been living with undiagnosed ADHD most of my life. Who would have known? But I feel much more relaxed and much quieter and much slower than I ever have.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, having brain tumor and all the chemo and radiation, all that sort of stuff, it has knocked my confidence around a little bit in a way, in that I'm less likely to take on a lot of the dumb stuff I once would have. But I don't know whether that's a lack of confidence or wisdom. I don't know.
Well,
maybe I just got lazy.
You've come a long way since then, unbelievably so. But I mean, what your passion is? You still surf, don't you?
I still surf. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't get out anymore, unfortunately, which is a real bummer.
Well, it's getting harder for me too, Graeme, if it's any consolation, because everyone else likes to surf too.
I wish I could get out there, but I just don't have the energy anymore to be able to do it. I have trouble standing up in the bathroom, let alone a board. So, but the paintings, even the one that you've got behind you, you've got a real love for the ocean and the beach and what goes on around that. I mean, are those paintings? And I think they always have. They've been really great sellers for you in the past.
They have, yeah. And look, and it's funny, even though I'm not sick of doing them, but I expand off into different directions. I keep getting pulled back. I always get pulled back to the beach, or always get pulled back to a pandanus tree, or you sit under a pandanus tree and you go, I never noticed that before. Yeah, I better go and paint that. So you never quite run out.
So you've done it 1,000 times.
Thousands of times.
Actually, that's fantastic.
But it never gets boring. That's the thing. I think if you keep looking, peeling the layers off, you'll keep finding more interesting stuff eventually.
Absolutely. So, and you have heard that you're obviously going to the moon.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
Well, we've been out there for a while anyway.
I was just going to say, been out there with the dolphins for a long time.
Somebody would say to me, he's over the moon. He says, well, he knows. But yeah, that takes off, and you're part and parcel of that, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, well, see, I'm not sure that that's a great reflection of humanity. They should probably remove me if they want to impress any aliens that might find.
Well, that's about the only people they're going to find in the end is aliens, I would say. So.
I go, wow, I was with this race until I came across that guy. Yeah, not so sure. Probably a good thing they died out.
So your beautiful girls are grown up now, aren't they?
They are. Yeah, Jasmine's off traveling the world, and Emily's at university and way smarter than me. So.
Yeah. That's great. I can remember the little girls.
Yeah.
They're grown women, my goodness.
Yeah, they really are. And kind of, they had to deal with their dad being sick and stuff. So they grew up pretty quickly in a lot of ways. Yeah. And so they've ended up being, while it probably shook them a little bit, I think in some ways it's made them a lot more resilient and a lot more appreciative of other people, I think, And
there's another woman in your life which stuck beside you for a very long time, the beautiful Nicole.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were talking about Lexi there for a second. Yes, poor Nick. Well, I make a joke. I go, well, when you think about it, Burnsy, you pretty much got 3 husbands, because you had the one before the tumour, then you had the one that behaved a particular way with the tumour, and then one since the tumour. So you've had basically 3 husbands. You're welcome. But she's sort of not so keen on the one that was around when I had the tumour.
I bet.
But she's been, it's been a real roller coaster ride for her, and it's been a funny old thing, because it's actually, it's not a funny old, it's not a surprise really. In a lot of ways, it's made us so much closer and so much more, I don't know, a little more sensitive to one another. And I live obviously all the time with the reality of scans and all of that sort of stuff. So she's living in a world that's kind of uncertain as far as husband and relationships concerned. So it can't be easy for her. But you just got to try and be as kind as you can to one another. It's just not easy, because I'm annoying.
Yeah, I know. No.
It comes across. It's
I just did 24 of the states of you with you in the United States.
By the way, you do snore. I have video evidence.
So they tell me. So what's the future hold for you, bud? What are you going to do?
Well, it's a funny old thing, mate. I've never really looked too far into the future. I've always only ever sort of basically, I'm like a drug addict when it comes to, painting, basically. So for me, it's like just get enough money to be able to paint. But weirdly enough, I decided when all of this was going on, I discovered that I'll let other people decide whether it's any good or not, but I discovered I love to write. And so I've actually been writing a whole pile of stuff, and I'm not sure whether this is off topic or not, but it just popped into my head. But yeah, so I've written a couple of books as well. So, I mean, I don't think of myself as a painter now. I think of myself as a mediocre writer as well. But so I wrote a book called It's All About the Light, and it's about that whole experience of the cancer journey and the shift that happened. So Franks and I have been working on that for quite a while now, and that's offered an editors, and we're looking at launching that next year. So that's interesting. Yeah.
So tell me, bud, tell me about the documentary and anything else you've got coming up as well.
So yeah, the documentary Meet the Wallers has been at the Launceston Film Festival. It's been at the Brisbane Film Festival, and it's coming to the Byron Film Festival.
Wow.
In December. Yeah. So it's a strange thing seeing your life laid out kind of like that.
I bet. And what about any exhibitions coming up?
We have a little exhibition down here in the gallery every year. It's nothing over $300. Not sure if we did it last year because of COVID, but it's just a nice way for us to get all our studies out and for people to get nice cheap Christmas presents, and it's just a fun and an excuse for us to have a party, of course.
Fantastic idea. So when's this on?
That is on the 11th of December. I had to check the notes.
Book me a table. I'd love to thank you for your time, but it's been wonderful.
My pleasure, my friend.
You're a champion, man, and hopefully I can get down to come down and see you shortly anyway. But we've always loved each other's company. We laugh off each other tremendously. We really
absolutely. Yeah. Foil hat. Just saying.
Thank you so much for your time, mate.
My pleasure, buddy. Love you guys, mate.